Now to tonight's special report. The issue of duck hunting in Victoria is a vexed one, and now the ABC can reveal new documents that suggest this year's season shouldn't have even gone ahead. Dry conditions and lower bird numbers meant the season was restricted, but pressure is growing for it to be banned altogether, and State Parliament will debate the issue this month. Duck hunting is already outlawed in 3 states. There's been a big drop in the number of shooters here, down from an estimated 100,000 in the 1980s to just under 26,000 licensed last year. And the Game Management Authority estimates just 14,000 actually hunted at some point during the season. The duck hunting industry has also been plagued by allegations of mismanagement, with the hunting watchdog accused of failing to enforce animal welfare regulations. Ben Knight has more.
This is the first time Jason has appeared in front of the camera. Normally he's behind it, filming vision like this on Victoria's wetlands.
This duck's dying slowly and suffering.
He filmed this hunter with a wounded duck hanging from his belt. The hunter is supposed to kill it immediately. Instead, he's busy looking for his next target.
But this goes on for minutes.
How often do you see this kind of thing on the wetlands?
This is common.
This is one of a number of clips passed on to investigators at Victoria's Game Management Authority. In this one, a hunter botches an effort to kill a duck with a wooden pole, then shoots it on the water, but it's still alive.
I've seen shooters using a live duck, a wounded duck, as live baiting with their dog. I've seen guys motoring around in boats, flushing the birds up so that they can shoot them, which is completely illegal.
Did that result in a prosecution?
No.
It was supposed to be different this year, mostly because the Game Management Authority copped an absolute bucketing last year for the way it was going about its job. There was an internal audit and the ABC got a hold of it, and what it showed was that breaches of hunting laws in Victoria were both commonplace and widespread. But worse than that, it found that there was this widely held view, not just among shooters, but inside the authority itself, that it just wasn't up to the job, not only of policing the wetlands, but of punishing anyone who broke the law.
We've changed how we do business, we've changed the way we do our compliance function.
And shooters say they did see a stronger presence on the wetlands this season.
We're really pleased to see them out there. Our view is that if you undertake illegal activity, then you should be held to account for those behaviours.
But Jason says he sees 80 to 90% of shooters doing the wrong thing, and there simply aren't enough inspectors to catch them.
There's that many wetlands out there, that many hidden spots that these guys go to, just so they don't have, the authority down their throat.
This year, the RSPCA called for duck season to be cancelled, saying it had urgent concerns about the Game Management Authority's ability to regulate effectively. Well, the Game Management Authority did recommend to the Minister that a restricted duck season go ahead this year. Now, the ABC has seen a copy of that advice to the Minister, which was recently released under Freedom of Information. And the people who obtained it say that when you look through it, it's pretty hard to understand how any kind of duck season was approved at all. It goes into a lot of detail and it talks about the big known problems, like the long-term decline in duck numbers, which at that time were the 9th lowest they'd been in 36 years. It talks about the lack of rainfall. Victoria had just had its 8th lowest rainfall on record.
I guess I've always thought that it's important to not have duck seasons when it's very dry.
Professor Richard Kingsford is the lead author of the study the authority relies on to decide if duck season goes ahead.
With no water, the birds don't breed, and also they have nowhere to feed, and so that really puts a lot of pressure on duck populations.
Graham Ford denies the authority cherry-picked data to boost the case for a duck season.
No, that's not true. We look at the longitudinal data. We do the same data sets pretty much every year.
Polls show that a majority of Victorians oppose duck shooting, yet this state remains an outlier. Western Australia banned it 3 decades ago. They were followed by Queensland and New South Wales under Premier Bob Carr, and he's now written to the Victorian Premier urging Daniel Andrews to do the same.
I suggested essentially it's not a big deal. You can do this, it's the right decision. There'll be no backlash. People knew what we were about. They're on the side of the birds.
Calls for a permanent ban in Victoria are increasingly coming from beyond the usual suspects. This year, the Mount Alexander Shire resolved to ban duck hunting at the Cairncurran Reservoir.
Our people like to go camping there. It's their favourite summer spot, it really is. They want to keep doing that in peace.
A spokesperson for the Premier said there are no plans to ban duck shooting in Victoria, and shooters believe it's going to stay that way.
The passion for duck hunting, or any kind of hunting in Victoria and across the nation, is part of our culture as Australians. So I don't think it would ever go away.
I just see the whole thing as ludicrous and outdated, and it needs to end.